On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder make their biggest free agent signing in the history of their franchise, plus bring back two important rotational pieces. Are the Thunder the team to beat?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for InsideTheThunder.com, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, brought to you by FanDuel, the Oklahoma City Thunder have signed their biggest free agent in NBA history, completing their core while bringing back Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. We're going to get into all of that and what that means coming up. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs are over in basketball and in hockey. Sports are starting to unwind, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a huge boost of daily wins and daily bonuses. That's right. There's something for everyone today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So when the Thunder sign Isaiah Hartenstein, and the notification comes across, the saga is completed. That started on Sunday whenever there was reports right out of the gate that the Thunder had gone to Eugene, Oregon to try to land the New York center. And they left Eugene, Oregon without the reported deal. A deal got worked out overnight in the morning, as Woj reported and Shams reported, that it's a 3-year, $87 million deal. This is the exclamation point on a perfect offseason. But let's talk about the Hartenstein piece first before we go big picture. So Hartenstein signs a 3-year deal, $87 million, and that sticker shock might be eye-popping to you. But you have to keep into perspective that this is a luxury Oklahoma City can afford. This deal has been reported that it's a 2-year deal with the third being a non-guarantee. I'd imagine a 2+1 or something like that. We'll soon figure all that stuff out. But the reality is it's been made clear by the New York Post that the third year of this deal is seemingly easy to get off of, and it's a front-loaded contract. That is perfect. That's all you needed to hear. This deal does not in any way, shape, or form hinder your core nucleus. It does not hinder your ability to bring back Shai, J-Dub, and Chet. It does not hinder your ability to develop Shai, J-Dub, and Chet. There's no power struggle, weird dynamic, weird mesh period. Those three continue to be at the top of the snake. Those three continue to dominate possessions and opportunities and chances and development. And you've now flushed out a roster around them that is prepared for rain. That's ready when they are. So when you look at this, the signing of Isaiah Hartenstein, yes, the value of the contract might be a bit more. What does that $5 million really mean, right? Let's say that they outbid it and they spent $5 million above market value, or whatever number you want to put on it. Really, realistically, any number above market value, whatever you feel comfortable with putting on it. Let's say that they went above market value for this specific team at this specific moment in time. That does not hinder you in the future. That figure is completely worth it. Completely worth it. Because the Thunder are in this unique position of threading that needle, of getting to spin now in their last chance of having cap space, and not hindering their future. And it's been very clear, again, that New York Times, the New York Post report of how it's front loaded and how the third year is kind of in flux. So it's a non-guarantee or it's an option, whatever it's going to end up coming out as. That makes it very clear that it's also a very tradable contract should you get there, but I don't think that you're going to get there. What this move does is it makes Oklahoma City the most diverse team in the NBA. The portfolio that they have, the options that they have, they can match up with anybody, any style, anywhere, anytime. When healthy, this team can do whatever they need to do to win. If you need to go big and you're thinking to yourself, who's this wing? Who can play on the wing? Jada at the power forward in a game where you need to go big. Well, how about Chet at the power forward when you need to go big, and Hartenstein in the middle, or vice versa? But obviously, Chet would be more likely to be in the wing. How about Chet as the wing when you need to go big? How about if a team tries to play the small ball game, as the New Orleans Pelicans did, which did not work out well in the first round? Like, remember, the Pelicans leaned into small ball because the Thunder were able to play Valanciunas off the floor. They leaned into small ball. That plays right into the Thunder's hands. They're still the best small ball team in the NBA. So they're for sure the best small ball team in the NBA. And now they've addressed, the weakness, so to say, of their front court rotation and their inability to match up with bigger teams. So they can match up with bigger teams. They can play small ball. They have those two tricks now. And then independent of that, this is still their style of play. This was not a move for the sake of getting bigger. This was a move for the sake of playing Thunder basketball. So here are the skill sets of Isaiah Hartenstein that he's going to bring in. Hartenstein, much better rebounder than on the roster. He's an exceptional passer for his position. He's a really good decision maker for his position. He has ball handling and ability to play off the catch. He has an immense cutting ability, one of his best traits on synergy. Really good pick and roll option. Arguably the best screen setter on the team. I think that's, of course, a skill that's hard to tangibly define, but I would say he's the best screen setter on the team, which then leads to some really nice pick and roll opportunities, especially for a team with such a drive-heavy offense of you get him rolling to the basket, you get him cutting to the basket, you get him in the dunker spot as a safety net. Those are all great things. Then you find him early on short rolls. He can then kick it out and redirect and keep the defenses moving. So his ability to have gravity and floor spacing, while we think of floor spacing as like, who are you going to stay tethered to in terms of like, if they're staying at the three-point line, will you stay tethered to them? It's really how many times can you make the defense move? And you make the defense move more with passes than you do anything else. And he's an exceptional passer. And he presents a different look than what you're typically used to seeing. So to play the Thunder and to gear up to play them, you've got to be ready to play three different styles. You can play in a humongous lineup, because now all of a sudden the Thunder have gone from being quote unquote too small to they can put a lineup out there that few teams can match. Shai, Caruso, Dub, Chet, Hartenstein. With what Caruso does scaling up as a defender, with the positional size of Shai, and then you have J-Dub and Chet and Hartenstein in the front court. Find me a team that can get bigger than that. Find me one team that can get bigger than that effectively. Because see, for as big as that lineup is, it's also an effective lineup. It's also a lineup that you could actually envision practically playing and working out. Find me a team that can get a better small ball lineup on the floor than the small ball lineups that the Thunder can put out there. And then in between those two extremes, you just have a normal flow of like, we've seen what the starting five of Shai, Caruso in place of Giddey, Dort, Dub, Chet looks like. Substituting Caruso for Giddey makes that lineup sensational. And now your secondary unit is going to have a stagger of Shai and Dub, plus Kaysen and Wiggins and Joe and Hartenstein. And like, now you've elongated that front court rotation to where now you're standing at Chet, Hartenstein, J. Will, Kenrich Williams. In my opinion, Dylan Jones will play more of that forward role than guard role. I know that people freaked out that his position label had a G next to it, but functionally in the NBA, as Nick Crane and I talked about yesterday, I think that Jones is included in this kind of forward package, but specifically a kind of center package. It'd be Chet, Hartenstein, the J. Will, the Kenrich at spells, if you want to go small. They have done everything possible to maximize this offseason. They maximize their ability to upgrade for Josh Giddey. I would encourage you to go back to May. As soon as the Dallas Mavericks series ended, what were people's dream scenarios of a Josh Giddey upgrade? they were significantly worse than Alex Caruso. And yet somehow this organization pulled off getting Alex Caruso. So you could not have asked for a bigger, better upgrade fit-wise, production-wise, stylistically than Caruso. And Giddey, as we've mentioned it countless times on this pod, will have a fantastic career in Chicago. But for this team, Caruso's a massive upgrade. Then they go into the draft, and they take a high upside pick at 12, who could pan out. They take two extremely versatile players, to end the first round and the top of the second round, to keep their flexibility open, and also draft really good players, and also draft for the future, and draft for upside and production and everything else. And then they go into free agency and they land the guy. They land the guy that everybody wants. This was the hottest name among Thunder fans. This is a guy that traded in Broadway for Bricktown, which has never happened before in the history of the world, much less in the history of basketball. Now, the payday certainly helps. The pay increase certainly helps. But there's also a belief that, adding Hartenstein, who averages 7 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, 2 assists a game, a steal, a block per game, who shoots 61% on runners, who has all these thundery skills besides the outside shooting, but no big man is perfect that's going to have all those skills. You cannot get a more Thunder-style big man than Hartenstein, especially for the contract and for the threading the needle aspect of that contract that falls off the books before Shai, Jada, and Chet. You could not have done any better than Hartenstein to address your needs. And the fact that you did not have to give up assets to go do it is a luxury that the Thunder have never been able to have to this point. This is the first time ever in any iteration in any team where the Thunder have this dramatically improved their roster, without giving up assets, without giving up picks, without giving up young players in any sense. And I think that what this trade is, signing is, see how just programmed your brain is when talking about the Thunder to talk about trades. I think that this transaction is the Thunder preparing for rain. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what some of these moves mean in retrospect. And the Thunder made 2 other signings today as well, all coming up. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. Check out FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Folks, every customer can go check out FanDuel right now /LockedOn, because while they understand that we all love sports and that they're kind of winding down a little bit right now with only baseball unfolding, they're not really sportsing like you would expect. FanDuel still has something for everybody there at FanDuel.com. So check out the app and go right now to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel.com is hooking up all of our customers with a boost and a bonus daily. That's right, something for everyone at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I only care about the NBA, I only know enough about the NBA to get invested in this, go to FanDuel.com, go to the NBA tab. Folks, Thunder championship odds after signing Isaiah Hartenstein is plus 850. That puts them tied for third, only trailing the Celtics and the Nuggets. Maybe it's worth putting some action on if you really believe in this core. Their odds out west, of course, plus 380, only trailing the Denver Nuggets. You can also bet on SGA to win MVP, where he's third best odds right there. So check out today at FanDuel.com/LockedOn, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Folks, when you look at this move, I think that this signing of Isaiah Hartenstein is the Thunder preparing for rain. You look at where this roster sits right now. They're ready. Everything around the Thunder is ready. The fan base is certainly ready for the team to compete and to be title contenders, and they are. Third in the title odds. But more importantly, look at this roster. If you stripped away Shai, J-Dub, and Chet, you see the Thunder have built a premier, supreme roster of really exceptional role players who understand their role, who understand their job, and who have been effective in their role, both off the bench, both in the starting five and everywhere in between, who understand what it takes to be a key piece next to primary guys. And now you add in those three guys back to the equation who understand that for their own success, it's best for them to maximize those role players. Because if you are a team that is willing to share the love, so to say, then as a defense, you've got to defend everybody and keep your head on a swivel at all costs, because you never know what's actually going to happen and how this possession is going to end. You're not just, pounding the ball into the hardwood, creating a dent in the floor, waiting for the 8-second mark, and then going to score in isolation. Like you like understanding that these, parts are in this team is a living, breathing organism that you have to, cover at all times. That is something that is unique about this tandem and about this team. But at the end of the day, this team will go as far as Shai, Chet, and J-Dub takes them, because it's a star-driven league. That doesn't change for the Thunder. That doesn't change for anybody. What the Thunder have changed, what the Thunder have done, how they're flipping the odds on the casino, so to say, is that they know for a fact that it's those three guys, and that those three guys are their guys. It's a matter of when are those three guys going to be ready to take that leap. Shai was exceptional in the playoffs. He was one of the best players in the postseason. You saw J-Dub in the second round. He needed to see the pictures. He needed to develop. He needed to see, ways to adjust. You saw Chet have some inconsistent scoring lulls, which I think partly on the guards, partly on Chet, of just like needing to be more aggressive. But at the end of the day, you've seen those two guys now. They've seen what it takes to make it in the postseason. Whenever that light bulb fully clicks for those three, here's the preparing for rain part. When the light bulb goes off for those three guys, and it's already gone off for one of them, they will be a trio that is a championship trio. And instead of scrambling on the back end, once that's happened, to figure out how to complement them, to figure out how to play around them, to figure out how to get guys in that can uplift such a talented group, this is a championship level rotation. In a star-driven league, you've got a championship level rotation. So whenever J-Dub and Chet, who are very young players, reach their playoff electric moment, as Sam Presti would say in his exit interview, or his draft interview about his exit interview about whenever Joel asked him about the late Bulls scout. Whenever you watch these players and you want those electric moments, whenever they happen for those guys in the playoffs, the Thunder are ready to support that. They're ready to support that and maximize it to where none of these runs are going to go to waste. None of these runs are going to be like, okay, well, now those three guys are there. How do we help them? They have the help. You cannot ask for better role players than Caruso, Hartenstein, Joe, Wiggins, and so forth. But those role players aren't what gets you over the hump. What gets you over the hump is your stars playing like stars. And so what this move is, this signing, I think it's a gamble of hey, within this 3-year window, those top three are going to be ready. And we've got to be ready to support those top three. And so, yes, it's a lot of money. And I think people are going to be shocked of how are you going to pay that much money to a backup big? How are you going to pay that much money to a big guy? To Isaiah Hartenstein, are you going to pay that much money to him? First of all, they had to pay the money anyway to get to the salary cap floor, which they were able to pay Wiggins and Joe, which we're still going to talk about coming up. But secondly, this money does not hinder them to sign, Joe or Wiggins, and it also did not hinder them to sign Shai, J-Dub, and Chet in the future. So this is kind of fun money, so to say. And why? Just for the sake of perception of what you can't do. You can't pay a backup center this much. You can't pay Isaiah Hartenstein this much. Why would you, for the sake of perception, quabble over $5, $6, $7, $8, whatever the money amount is, $1 million of perception, whenever you could spend that money, as the Thunder have done, and maximize your title window? So I think it's a bet on, hey, within these 3 years, Shai, J-Dub, and Chet will be ready to win a championship. and be ready and be players that can take your team to the championship? Will you have championship pieces around them? And the answer right now is unequivocally yes. Yes, you will have championship pieces around those three guys whenever they're ready to make that leap. And I think it's a safe bet. I think that it is a bet that would get such bad odds you wouldn't place money on it because it's going to happen. Jada and Chet will be ready along with Shai sooner than later. And now you're ready to support that and foster that. And so when you look at these moves, and now you can start to string together the full picture of the season and the postseason and the off season, you go all the way back to the Hayward trade, which Sam Presti mentioned at his exit interview, like that trade was bigger than just Gordon Hayward. What it did was it cleared cap space. Imagine if that trade doesn't go down. For as retroactive as like we want to grade trades and do it quick and do it now, and like you can go back and read the comment section of this podcast after the draft and see what the fan base pulse was right after the draft. We don't have the clear picture. Here's the clear picture. We have it right now. The Hayward trade, hey, thought it could work. Thought it could, be something where he helps eliminate some scoring lulls, and he's a veteran presence on a team that's making their first postseason run. But the bigger picture of that trade was always that cap space, and Sam Presti said as much out loud to the public masses at his exit interview. Now imagine if they didn't do that. And imagine if they didn't do that, and now they're sitting on, Bertans, Micic, Mann's contracts. And this opportunity presents itself to go get a Hartenstein. But first, you've got to get rid of this money, and you got to makeshift this money around. Well, now teams can squeeze even more out of you, more second-round picks, more picks in general. They would really even have you over a barrel to the point where they could probably get a first-round pick out of you. Whenever they know that you need that to happen to sign your biggest free agent, in organizational history, and a signing that completes your roster. Like this signing, it cannot be undersold like how much that this signing means, both basketball-wise and otherwise. Like there's a reason why Zach Lowe, one of the most respected minds in basketball from a media standpoint, was discussing on ESPN last night how opposing teams are hoping, like desperately hoping, that the Thunder strike out. Because this team is a sleeping giant, which sounds crazy about a number one overall seed, but like they're a number one overall seed in the West that everyone understands that was not even their best shot. Now you've given yourself that best shot. So like clearing up that cap space proactively is massive for getting this done. The fact that Sam Presti also mentioned as press conference of like, they're not shutting anything off. Like they're not trying to be stubborn or prove anyone wrong or never go sign this or never go sign that. They're just trying to find their guys. Look at who they've added. Look at who they've added. We did the All Juice team on SI. I put together the 3-team All Juice team. If I had to put together a 3-team All Thundery team of guys not currently on the Thunder roster, guess who'd be first-team members? Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Dylan Jones, AJ Mitchell, Nikola Topic. Like those guys would be on the list of like all-time Thundery guys who aren't on the Thunder roster right now. So while they didn't go out and prove anyone wrong, and they were willing to go sign big guys, they maximized, getting a big guy who's a Thundery guy. They maximized getting Caruso, who scales up and helps you defend bigger guys, but is a Thundery guy through and through, literally from the organizational's, nestle. The draft allowed them to stay versatile, of like banking on the upside of those 3 picks, not like straying away from your identity in the draft. And now you're ready to plop in Hartenstein with no strange outcome of like, for example, let's just hypothetically say that they drafted my favorite big man target, hand up. My favorite big man target was Deron Holmes. I love Deron Holmes. I think he's going to be an excellent player for Denver. I think he's going to be awesome. But you reach for him at 12, right? You reach for him at 12 to fill a need. Then this Hartenstein thing comes out. Who would you rather have for this season? For a team that should Chet and Jada take that step in the postseason is a championship level team and a team that I think will be favored to win the championship from the West. Get out of the West, I should say. Boston will be the favorite. The favorite to get out of the West. I think when the dust settles this offseason, the favorite to win the West is in Oklahoma City. Who's the better player to get you there? It's Hartenstein. It's what we said on draft night. And on draft night, you all called me crazy of like, oh, well, whatever. You should want this team to do what they just did. Spend the draft working on versatility and upside, and then fill your need with actualized NBA talent. They've done just that. And then again, the trade for Caruso thing gets lost because it happened before the massive shaking of the draft and free agency. The Caruso trade, you pair him with Hartenstein and a team that was already second defensively and nearly in the top defensively. This is far and away the best defense in the NBA. Far and away, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, this is the best defense in the NBA. They both help you upgrade your offense. They both help you upgrade your versatility. And they both help you get over the hump of beating some of the teams that you need to beat to get to the finals and to get to the ultimate goal. So what this move does is just it opens up a lot of doors while also kind of putting a shiny new bow on your roster. Like, this roster is prepared. It's going to come down to when those three guys are ready to make that leap. And it could be this year. Could be as soon as April. Could be next April. Could be the April after that. But you are prepared for when that happens. We'll talk about the other signings coming up. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. Today's show is a massive one with Isaiah Hartenstein signing the best contract in he's the biggest free agent in the history of the organization. But the Thunder also signed Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. Re-signed those two guys on deals that are awesome. 4-year deal, $48 million. 4-year deal for $48 million for Isaiah Joe, which is about $12 million per year. 5-year deal, $57 million for Wiggins, which is like $11.4 million for him. First and foremost, before we even break down the X's and O's and what it means and the grandeur of their picture, how cool is that? These are 2 second-round guys. For Wiggins, he's a 55th overall pick who not only got onto a 2-way contract and then got converted to a standard contract, but has now reached his 3rd contract and a pretty significant payday. And was so valuable to this team that you wanted to pay him early. You didn't want to take it to the bitter end of the deal. You wanted to pay him early. That's rare. It's rare from a team standpoint to foster that development. It's rare from a player standpoint to go get that. The list is short of guys who've accomplished what Wiggins has accomplished. Same for Isaiah Joe. 2nd-round guy who got cut. These guys typically don't make it. 2nd-round guy who gets cut, signs with a new team at the end of training camp, gets thrusted in, never looks back. 4-year deal, one of the best sharpshooters in the NBA, in terms of role players and rotational players. 2 massive keys to a 57-win team. 2 massive pieces to a 57-win team. Right here from the 2nd round, and kind of unprecedented stories, so to say. Not unprecedented, but very, very unusual and rare stories. But for Isaiah Joe and Wiggins, they're both very tradable contracts. Same with Hartenstein. So while you've done these moves to improve this roster, you've also maintained future flexibility with all these moves. And that's the delicate balance that you walk. You want to walk that line of maximizing how good this team can be in this window with flexibility to make sure that window continues to bounce and bounce and bounce forward. This Thunder team would not shock me if they won a championship. Flat out. Now, it would come down to J-Dub and Chet playing at star levels in the postseason, but it would not shock me with what's in place. Coach of the year, consensus top 5 player in the sport, 2 rising stars who are going to have an all-star caliber year. Again, it's tough to get 3 guys in the all-star team. Who knows if they'll actually make the all-star team, but they will be considered all-star caliber guys. two of the best role players in the sport, and a ton of depth. And I mentioned the coach of the year and one of the best executives in the sport. Like, this team, it would not shock me if they won a championship right now. They've also left themselves open for the future and for future flexibility. And like, these are two valuable commodities. Like the versatility of Wiggins, who scored all three levels and defend every position. The elite NBA trait of Joe's three-point shooting. Valuable commodities on valuable contracts, which is how moves get done in the future, in the way distant future. But for right now, just an awesome story. Just an awesome outcome for those guys. But ultimately, you could easily look back on this as being one of the biggest monumental days in Thunder history. To lure away Isaiah Hartenstein from not only New York, but a contending New York team who struggled to kind of get under the cap and everything, under the hard cap to make this happen. To get him away from that, pluck him into the Thunder's ready-made team, plus retain Joe and Wiggins. It sets yourself up for a really, really bright season, a really, really bright future, and just all around a sense of applause for what the Thunder pulled off. It is July 1 in the year of our Lord 2024, and the Thunder have checked every box. That's impressive. And now you move forward and wonder, what does the starting lineup look like? What does it look like on the court? And all of these basketball questions that we're going to get into tomorrow. But you can rest easy knowing that the pieces, the ingredients, are in the kitchen. How you put that meal together, how you measure things out, how you season things, like that's still up for debate. But you have the ingredients of a championship level team in Oklahoma City. It's exciting. Really exciting. Let me know your thoughts on Isaiah Hartenstein and this move on Twitter at Ryland_Styles. Check us out at SI Thunder, at Sports Illustrated, and Lockdown Thunder, anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. You can let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this move. You give it a thumbs up. Do you like it? What do you think of all of this move and more? So we'll be back again talking Thunder basketball tomorrow and talking about how this looks on the court and how these moving parts are feasibly going to come together, what the roster looks like, and so much more. There's a lot to discuss. And so until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.